police officer.
She claims raped her while handcuffed.
His private is out.
The worst conduct that I have ever seen.
Tell me about that stop.
The Daniel Holtzclaw case touched down with the force of an Oklahoma tornado.
A warning for our viewers, the content of this report is graphic.
The sensational story of a sex-crazed cop screams sizzling headlines. And journalist Allie Meyer of our affiliate KFOR was reporting from the very beginning.
This was a fascinating case for this community in almost every way. Really devastating for parts of this community that felt targeted by the accused.
Two alleged victims had come forward.
It's horrifying just to rehash all those memories.
You saw something?
No, I don't know. I saw, him driving me between the two buildings, that street. I don't know what was on the other end. It seemed like an alley.
And the most damning evidence so far? Unidentified female DNA was found on the outside and inside of the zipper of Holtzclaw's uniform pants.
The first thing Kim Davis thought is, a cop doesn't just wake up and start raping women one day.
Detectives worked furiously to find other victims.
The victims didn't come forward because they didn't think we'd believe them.
Fearing Daniel Holtzclaw was a sex predator who intimidated his victims into keeping quiet, Detective Kim Davis had to find a way to help others come forward without fear.
We pulled all the crime information logs. We went through them by hand looking for his unit number, and we wrote down everybody he ran.
Pouring through literally thousands of Holtzclaw's records, detectives made note of women who fit the profile of someone they thought Holtzclaw would consider easy prey, poor black and in trouble with the law.
We just got together and beat on doors. Some of them, as soon as I knocked on the door and they knew what we were investigating, and that was enough for them to go, oh, somebody believes me.
Like Shardarian Hill, who said when Holtzclaw stopped her, she crushed a vial of PCP in her mouth. He took her to the hospital where she says the officer assaulted her while she was handcuffed to the bed.
His private is out. I started to do oral on him, and at this moment I'm thinking like I don't have a choice.
Holtzclaw later friended her on Facebook.
He asked me to come to his house a few times.
The trail of accusers was growing. Sherry Ellis says she was taken to an abandoned school and raped. Tabitha Barnes says she was touched inappropriately and stalked by Holtzclaw. Adira Gardner, then only 17, accused Holtzclaw of rape on her own front porch. Kayla Lyles said she too was taken to an abandoned school and raped.
You took the inner beauty of my soul.
And how do you get that back?
All I can do is pray about it.
Detectives believed Holtzclaw was so brazen, he assaulted 3 women during one shift.
We still have these ideas of women deserving it. So if something happens to you while you're in the process of living a certain lifestyle, that's your fault. And you should just suck it up and be quiet and shut up.
With a total of 13 accusers who didn't shut up, this policeman turned alleged pariah had been formally fired. The chief's goodbye letter calling it the greatest abuse of police authority I have witnessed in my 37 years as a member of this agency.
He may have dressed like us, and he may have called himself one of us, but one of us doesn't do that.
Holtzclaw's future was looking bleak, and that was before the biggest bombshell had been dropped.
It was a shocking moment.
The DNA tested on the fly on Holtzclaw's uniform pants had a match. And who it matched was even more shocking. Then 17-year-old Adira Gardner.
Her DNA was found on the inside of his uniform pants.
The former cop, now himself restrained and arrested. His $5 million bail was eventually reduced and Holtzclaw was free pending trial, facing 36 felony charges, including 8 counts of rape.
The union didn't support this individual, the police department didn't support this individual. We were mad too. We wanted a conviction too.
In November 2015, an all-white jury of 8 men and 4 women got their first face-to-face look at the beleaguered former cop. But the image prosecutor wanted indelibly linked in the jurors' minds was the army of accusers seated in the courtroom.
There were a whole lot of women who all looked a certain way, who were accusing Daniel Holtzclaw of terrible crimes while he was on duty.
But Assistant District Attorney Galen Geiger was well aware of his challenges.
Their greatest challenges were the victims' credibility.
The prosecution needed the jury to see past their histories.
That doesn't make somebody unrapeable because they're poor and they're black.
What you heard over and over again in Oklahoma City from people all around town is, well, how could so many women be lying? I think it had a lot of weight with the jurors, too.
But why would Holtzclaw risk his career, his family, and his girlfriend to victimized, troubled women?
Rape is power, and because you have a gun on your hip, and because there are so many things that you can change in my life, that's all the thrill and the excitement a predator needs.
There was circumstantial evidence. They relied a lot on the GPS of his Oklahoma City police patrol car.
And it shows the officer's route, where he worked. That's his unit number right there. So it was actually very easy for us to corroborate the stories of the victims.
Detectives say Holtzclaw could be tracked to every location on the date the women said they were assaulted.
Every girl that we talked to, we would full-blown interview them first. They would tell us, he stopped me here, he assaulted me here, he drove me here, then he drove me over here and dropped me off. I would go pull their AVL, and it was dead on every time.
For prosecutors, the bulletproof evidence was the speck of skin cell DNA found on Holtzclaw's pants that matched then 17-year-old Adira Gardner. Prosecutors would tell the jury in closing arguments that the DNA came from vaginal fluid. And prosecutors were convinced Daniel Holtzclaw would burn.
And we're going to ask the judge to make sure that this defendant never sees the light of day.
Coming up.
What we have here is amateur hour in Oklahoma City.